Hey my friends, welcome back to AttractPassion. Today I want to remind you that some will say to you that you should stop thinking bigger because your life will never change. Those are the robbers of dreams, the energy vampires. You need to know that you're not living your life for them. Your actions are investments regardless of what they think. When you invest your energy into something that is bettering your life, you know that you're on the right path. Don't try to prove them wrong. Just do right because it feels right. The results will speak for themselves. And this is such an important reminder because I know for myself in the past, I was trying so hard to prove those people who thought that what I'm doing is not possible. I was trying so hard to prove them that they're wrong. And every time I tried to do that, I felt robbed at the end. And I was curious why. So we may recognize that we don't do anything for others here. We think we do things for others. But what we are doing is we are just researching ourselves. What we are doing is we are taking action to gain a greater understanding of ourselves. So whatever we do is for our evolution. And once we understand that, we stop trying to prove ourselves to others. We recognize that we are here on a path of greater self-realization, self-actualization. And that's all there is. And as you're evolving and growing and expanding and getting more familiar with who you truly are, you're just starting to behave differently. You start doing different things. You change your actions, you change your habits. Eventually you change your diet, you change the patterns that are not serving you anymore for the ones that can help you to stay in a greater alignment with who you want to be, who you're meant to be. And that work will inspire others. So you see, the focus is never on others. The focus is always on being the greatest possible self you can be, because that's how you help others, right? To heal the world means to heal yourself, because you are the world. The world that you are experiencing is happening within your mind. And that's an important reminder because so often we focus on what's outside of us, but everything is mental, right? The first law in alchemy is a law of mentalism. Everything is mental. Everything's happening in our minds. We see that what we see is real, but what we see is only perceived according to our own understanding of what we are perceiving. Which means that the life we are perceiving is equal to our understanding of life. Once we expand understanding, our life will change, right? You can't experience something you don't understand because you can't perceive it, you can't comprehend it. That's why some people experience mystical things and some people see UFOs and some people see light beings and things like that and others don't. Because some people are wired to perceive that and most people are not. And when it comes then to changing your reality, what is known as manifestation, the power of manifestation, it's not about forcing something to happen. So we firstly need to recognize why we want that at the first place. Do you want that thing to impress somebody? Or do you want that thing to express yourself? Right? This is a huge change because most people are wired to have something, to do something, to impress somebody. But once you start working on your soul, right? Once you start researching your soul, you recognize that everything you have can help you to express your soul. So what's the soul? Well, In ancient Greek philosophy, once again, we can recognize that there's the beginning of our known history, of that mystery of the soul. When Aristotle started researching that mystery of life, like what's the difference between a live human being and that human being? Like they both look the same, but you see that something is missing in the dead human being, in the dead body. So he was wondering what's missing. You can cut it on pieces and you recognize that they both are made from the same thing, but something is missing in the dead body. And soon he recognized that what's missing is his psyche, right? What's missing is his mind. What's missing is life. And that's what he named soul, psyche. Later he transformed or translated it into soul. So soul then is a thing that gives life to life, right? So we need to find life within ourselves so we can start expressing it. And when we look around us, often we may recognize that many people are living their lives, but they are not feeling fully alive. It's because they're not in touch with their inner life. So we need to get in touch with our inner life. We need to recognize what awakens life within us, what sparks that life within us. And that's what makes us question, what makes me feel alive, right? The world needs more people who feel alive. So the question is, what makes you feel alive? What makes you feel alive? What it means? Because we may hear a lot about the soul, but what it means when we say express your soul, it means express your life. When you share something that brings life to others, right? Often we could explain it in a sense of inspiration. I've heard something and it inspired me. Because you've heard it from somebody who's expressing life. You may find it in music, you may find it in art, you may find it on certain YouTube videos, you may find it in books, and books are just written out of that inner life. When that inner life is just navigating words, right? That's where we recognize that we're architects here, designing life. We're allowing life to express through us. But for that, you need to train yourself so you start to recognize that inner life. And that is an important reminder because we may find many energy vampires around us. So what are energy vampires? Those are people who are robbing you from life. Those are people who are draining you from that vital life force. Those are people, every time you hang with them, you feel drained out. And that's what you need to be careful. You need to be aware of that, because you need to notice what kind of people makes you feel alive and what kind of people makes you feel drained out. So you start to be more careful with whom you're spending your time with, because people that surround you are also the people that influences you, right? Those are the people that may influence your mind to think how you think. So when you have around you people that inspire you, you will feel bigger. You will feel like there's a lot to create. You will feel inspired to move. But when you have people around you that drain you out, you will feel like there's always something missing. You will start complaining. You will start seeing everything as a problem, everything as a source of misery. And like Oscar Wilde said, misery is the greatest mystery. So we need to get back to ourselves and recognize where we feel the most alive at and focus more on that. Because that's why you're here at the first place. That's why life brought you here. So you can be a messenger of that force. So you can be a channel of that energy. And for that, you need to recognize what feels the most natural, what puts you into the flow state. Regardless of what people say, eventually you will learn to focus on what puts you in balance, and that will help you to let go of fear of judgment. What makes you the most alive? What puts you into the highest form of being, into the greatest possible energy of being, will help you to release all the fears of being judged, of worries what everybody will say, because you don't care about it anymore. You focus on what makes you feel alive. And when you feel alive, do you remember the last time you felt truly alive? Where was your mind at that moment? What kind of thoughts were you thinking? Because I know when I'm in that state, all I think is, what can I do? All I think is what I want to do. All I think is what I want to create. All I think is what I want to achieve. All I think is how beautiful life is. All I think is, well, I hope and I wish more people would be in that state. That's where my mind is when I feel truly alive. That's why it's a simple reminder. It's not like complicated thing, complicated formula to get into that state. It's more like a reflection, a deep introspection, like identifying the problem, what's bothering me right now, so I can find the solution and get to the state I am seeking right now. So we need to learn to identify what's bothering us, so we can find the solutions to the present problems, right? And that's how we heal the world. So, my friends, as I mentioned, everything is mental, which means that all starts in the mind. If all starts in the mind, then all the answers are already there, and only clarity can help us to find them. And clarity means that you give time to your mind to process something complex. And life is often complex. Problems and challenges are often complex. So stop distracting yourself constantly with social media and give some time to your mind. So information can, relax a little bit. So everything can calm down a little bit. So you can see things clearly. That's why when you go on vacation, suddenly you want to change all of your life, because you recognize how many things are just not serving you anymore. Every time we go to travel, we recognize how many things we want to do differently in our lives. But then we go back into our busy lives and we forget about it. And that's why every single year, many people get more miserable. It's because they know what they need to do, but at the same time they don't take time to do that. And we're living in a world where we're kinda running out of time. We just can't do same things same way anymore. And everything is pushing us to step outside of that box to see how we are living our lives. And to ask ourselves, is this truly resonating with the purest form of life? Is this truly resonating with the purest form of life? So what's the purest form of life? Well, that's something you need to find out for yourself. What would be for you the purest form of life? And recognize how could you align your life, your daily life, with that idea of the purest form that you could become. And see what can you do today. But you will notice that it all comes to the ability that you can identify how you don't want to live your life anymore. So you can focus on the solutions that will help you to bring yourself into a greater alignment with who you are meant to be. Because, you see, it's not a thing that you're out of alignment. You're out of alignment with the version of yourself you want to be, but at the same time you're in alignment with who you are right now, which may be a version of yourself you don't want to be anymore. So you're never out of alignment. You're just in alignment with the wrong version of you. So you need to recognize what is pulling you, or what is kind of supporting yourself being in that version of you. And it will make you reflect many parts of your life. Like your diet is the way you eat, pulling you into that old version of you. Does your sleeping pattern, the way you sleep, pulling you into that old version of you, the way you think, your beliefs, maybe the way you judge others, and all of that. And it's not about being hard on ourselves, but being honest with ourselves. So we recognize, well, maybe I'm getting back into old patterns every time I want to change, which means that I just need to try a bit harder. I need to fail just a bit more times so I can master who am I meant to be. There's an old Chinese saying that was later translated into never give up. But the original saying is that a master has failed more times than a beginner has ever tried. And that's something that is so real, because we think we should just be good at what we start. But the fact is that we need to fail so many times that there is no other way but to learn the lesson, right? And that's something hard to understand sometimes, but that's what it is. Some people learn faster, some people learn slower. It never means that you can't learn. So, you see, even when you look into the nature, some trees will grow faster, some trees will grow slower, and it doesn't mean that the tree that is growing faster is better. It doesn't mean that, because nature is not judging the differences of one another. It's what we made up, so we could compete with each other. But that's an old way of living. The new way of living is to celebrate each other's differences. So I celebrate you for your process, because you're on a beautiful mission. So appreciate the mission that you're walking on, because that's a brave move, a brave decision. You see, nothing is greater than a choice when you choose to live. Nothing is greater than a choice when you choose to live. And that's something brave. My friends, I will leave you here. I'm sending you lots of love, blessings, and power. I hope you've enjoyed in today's message. And thanks to all of you for supporting my art in my Etsy shop. I draw my passion. You're all truly appreciated. Till next time, one love.